Hello, everybody! Welcome. Uh, we have a new episode today, yeah, and the last of the month that is even. So yeah, today we have a very special guest. Today we have Tavish the Tree Sage here. It's
Hello.
yeah. Can you introduce yourself, man?
No, I'm a tree. Trees can't introduce themselves. No, I'm a concept artist. I've worked in games and movies and TV for a while. I recently started streaming, and then I became a tree, and here I am. I also game a lot, so you know.
Yeah, that's the reason why he's here.
Yeah.
I
I've worked in games and I play a lot of games, so makes sense.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I wanted to invite you here. So, can you tell us what kind of games you play on your free time?
Um, I'm a big fan of JRPGs, but I also like crafting games and city management and things like that.
Oh,
I've heard somebody sum it up very well before that in city management games, you get exactly 100% what you put in, and so it's the only satisfying thing in life. And while I don't agree with the full statement, I did find it funny.
huh. I didn't even know that. How did you get 100% of that? Huh?
No, just because it has like very obvious outcomes, like I put X here and Y comes out as the result. Whereas in
Ah.
real life, it's like I put a road here, but then nobody uses it for no reason because some superstition cropped up and some kid ran the wrong way on the street. You know,
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
it doesn't have the whole chaos of real life,
Ah.
which is nice sometimes. It's a good break from real life. You don't have to brain power so much through it, in a
Mm,
way.
Yeah, I believe it. Well, yeah. Do you have any specific like game you consider your favorites or a genre at that?
Uh, I'm very fond of the Castlevania series
Oh.
for, very common reasons. Just it's fun, it's well designed. It's a bit of a power fantasy, but at the same time, it's just difficult and puzzly enough that you don't get bored with it.
Oh. Well, yeah.
So I like Metroidvania in that same vein. So Bloodstained, obviously Metroid, Mega Man, all those games that have platforming and such. To the point where when I was playing Destiny with a friend, I got put in the position of getting us through platforming areas because I had played so many platform games and he was more of an FPS guy. So
Yeah.
I would have to get through the area to make sure that we respawn in the right side. Because for some reason, like he's great at so many games. He's great at Bloodborne, he's great at this game, but he's like, I just can't do platforming.
I mean, yeah, you can have one specific type of game you're not good with. Not everybody's good at everything,
No,
but
you gotta be good at it all. You gotta be the very best, Ash Ketchum.
but okay, yeah. I mean, yeah,
I know, I'm obviously kidding, but
yeah. I know, but still, though. In my case, I'm a platformer guy too. Like I like more traditional type of platformers, like more linear ones. But Metroidvanias from time to time are a really good escape from that exploration and all of that. But
yeah.
usually my like completionist mentality kicks in some of those games, and I want to go to areas that I don't have access to yet, so I don't want to backtracking anymore, and that bothers me a little bit. But it's progression's sake, so it's fine. I have
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I get that. Especially with I think a good example of that would be Portal,
Mm,
where like there's the obvious solution to each puzzle, but there's usually some obtuse, crazy person way that you can go through the same puzzle and get a much more fun result, which is how I tend to play the game.
yeah, usually being creative with the game is what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. There's very few games that does that now that I think about it.
Yeah, I think it's just harder to develop them because it's once you kind of let go of control as a developer, I mean, it's the same thing as like concept art. At some point, you have to like let your baby go. Like, I'll let my drawing go to the 3D department, and maybe something happens or something gets mistranslated, and then I'm like a little bit frustrated. not frustrated at them, but just frustrated at the process because that's how it is.
Oh.
Where it's the same thing with having an audience in a game. The second you give them more control, it opens the floodgates to, like I was mentioning earlier with the city sim stuff, like that little bit of chaos and unpredictability.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's usually hard to concept like levels around creativity because you never know how a person will solve the puzzle, and it's hard to like think about that and try to make something instead of just...
Yeah, and sometimes you make it too creative, and a lot of people just don't get it, and
yeah, they get
like,
too cryptic.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I wouldn't say it's taboo or whatever, but like nobody likes to admit that, you know, some of the audience is average, some of the audience won't get it, some of the audience will find it too easy. You have to really pick what your audience is before you start.
Target audience.
Because otherwise you're going to be serving 3 different audiences and none of them are going to come away satisfied because none of them really enjoyed the full product.
That's why genres and subgenres are for, to just make a little bit easier find the target audience. Let's say I want to make a platformer, but what type of platformer I want to make? It's a Metroidvania, it's just a stylish type of platformer, it's just a linear type of platformer. It's usually for that we have the subgenres and genres we have today. We have...
Yeah, I feel like because of that, open world games became much more popular over time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a way for them to be like, okay, you have a sandbox, play with it. And as long as people know they're going into a sandbox, they're like, okay, it's a sandbox. You know, you get what you put in.
Yeah, it's basically...
Which is cool.
Yeah, you get what you were told in the box or in the trailers, more of the time.
Yeah,
But...
unlike, you know, Metal Gear Solid 2, where they bait and switch the protagonist completely. Legendary bait and switch, and a really great bait and switch for game writing, but so many people at the time, like, I was still alive then. So many people at the time were just so mad that they couldn't play as Solid Snake through the game and they had to play as Raiden.
Yeah.
Before all the Raiden memes came out and he became popular again.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that usually for, like... I mean, I think it's for story's sake they waited for the game so they can sell it well.
Like it was a very intentional thing by Kojima at the time.
And if you really think about it, if those trailers were like to show Raiden and they just blasted Metal Gear on the title, that game will not be as popular as like the original Metal Gear if you think about it, because of the marketing.
Yeah.
You want the popular character to be the face of your franchise. If you don't have that face of that franchise, it will not sell as well as the original game that spawned that franchise in the first place.
Yeah.
That's basically the mentality of the reboot, or the mentality of like the new thing will not sell as well as the old one. That's why we have so many stuff like it's with the face of original characters, like for example remakes and remasters.
Yeah, like Star Wars gets new movies that don't need to be made and things like that. Or not that they don't need to be made, but they just repeated the story of the originals, but they did it worse. And yes, I will stand by that opinion.
I mean, that's on you, man. I don't watch Star Wars.
I know a lot of people that disagree with that, and I'm like, did you read the script? They're like, how is Palpatine back? We don't know. And then they just move on to the next thing. I'm like, what?
Well,
somebody got paid to work on this?
I don't know.
Anyway, back to games.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about the Star Wars games if you want. But
yeah, I didn't want to go off on too much of a tangent.
Yeah, I mean, the tangents here are always welcome. That's part of the show and part of the charm. So, yeah, in terms of like Star Wars games itself, there were some really good ones and some really bad ones. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you remember Battlefront 2?
Which Battlefront 2? Like the EA one or the like LucasArts one?
I think it's the EA one.
The EA one is the pretty one, but the bad or lesser of the two, I guess.
Yeah. It was the center of that basic loot box controversy that is basically on every single EA game.
That was next level.
Next level's coming.
That was like as bad as the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer
Ooh.
when it came out, and then they changed it. But they didn't change it for a while on the Star Wars one because they were like, no, let's just,
I mean,
ride out the controversy and get a bit more money.
I mean, that controversy is technically true, but it's not the first time it happens. That happened since FIFA. It started to get some loot boxes. Like, it started from there. Nobody bitched about it. There are some players, like pro players of FIFA, that complain about that system, but who cares about FIFA in that regard, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's more acceptable in sports games because they have like real world sports people to like compare their stats to.
And they need to pay them for something, so yeah.
Yeah.
Technically image.
So like I still disagree with the practice, of course, but it's just like I feel like it's easier to justify to certain crowds in a sense.
Mm-hmm. In my case, I'm only okay with loot boxes if I can grind for them, because that gives me a reason to play the game, technically. But even then, just sacrificing hours upon hours to get something that is technically RNG pure and simple, it's not that fun. The fun of it, funny enough, is just the pulling of stuff on loot boxes. As a Warframe and Genshin player, I can vouch for that because I experienced those firsthand. And I believe a successful loot box system needs to be like that. You need to sell the people the stuff you want them to either pay or grind for it. But
yeah, I mean, I played Arknights as well, so like I understand the gacha appeal, and I also understand a lot of the like really questionable marketing behind those things.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they can't do that, but there is a certain point where it gets ridiculous. Like I was having fun one day just questioning like, oh, how much would it cost in US dollars to max a Genshin character? And I looked it up, and it was $2,400.
Yeah.
To max like a 5-star.
Yeah, to max a 5-star, yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? I could buy 48 $50 games for that. To put that in perspective.
I know. I mean,
yeah.
Genshin is the worst example of like good implemented loot boxes. The system is okay. You can get the gems to get a few like rolls and all of that, but the amount of grinding you need to do for those 10 is unfathomable. It's so long. You get months upon months of just grinding, not just the regular game, but also the events. You need to complete the events like 100% if you want to get some characters. Even the 4-star ones are kind of hard to get if you want to get them all.
Arknights is very similar to that. It's not quite as extreme. Like, they have much better RNG rates, so it's not quite as painful when you lose, I guess.
Yeah.
Quote unquote lose.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, what's the word I'm thinking of?
The 50-50.
It does reach, like, a critical point, I guess.
Yeah. In Genshin, you have kind of the same thing, but you need, like, 80 pulls to get a 5-star, like, guarantee 5-star. And even then, if you are pulling for an event one, you will get a 50-50 chance to get either an event one or a regular 5-star that you can find on the other type of banner and all of that.
Yeah, I never like that. I was just like, if it's an event, make it, fun.
Just exclusive for that event banner and all of that. But
yeah, and the marketing team would be like, "No, you're dumb," and I'm like, "Yeah, but I want to keep our fan base."
I mean, that still works, even though they still do that to this day. That still works. They sell the characters.
It works, but at the same time, like,
scummy as hell.
Well, it's that, but like I look at, like, what game has lasted quite a long time? Like, I guess World of Warcraft would be a decent example. It still has like a subscription model and it's still RNG, but everything is like,
Yeah.
It's not quite as hinged on people buying, booster packs or things like that.
Well,
but
yeah.
The game has been around for like, what, 15, 20 years or something? Like a ridiculous amount of time for a game to be relevant.
Yeah, World of Warcraft is a timeless game at this point because it's still popular to this day with a subscription-based type of deal, which you don't see very often
Oh,
nowadays.
I have a better example. Counter-Strike.
Oh yeah,
It's a
CS. Yeah.
yeah, it's a very simple game. Nothing in the game is like so like with 5 stars in Genshin, they're very powerful characters most of the time.
Yeah.
And there's a tangible benefit to getting them. Getting a fancy knife skin in CS:GO gives you no tactical advantage whatsoever, in the words of Ocelot.
Right, but the difference being Genshin is a co-op game and Counter-Strike is a competitive game. In competitive games, if you have loot boxes, it better be just skins or something cosmetic, because if you get an advantage by doing something like giving your character a power-up or a character that is unbalanced as hell, that's
Yeah.
not good and not healthy for the game itself, since it's a competitive environment, not a cooperative environment. That's
Yeah.
what happens,
And I
for example, with Warframe. Warframe, most people don't know, but it has a competitive element in the form of Lunaro. Lunaro is a game mode that you can go against other Warframe players and either play a type of minigame or just kill between each other. And that game mode is useless because, one, you don't have the customizations you have regularly on Warframe. Two, the Warframes themselves are way too broken at this point on ability wise. And three, you don't have enough people that is interested to play a competitive game mode on a fully co-op game. That's basically around on why Lunaro is not successful, and part of the reason why I think it's not necessary at all.
Yeah, I do half agree on Genshin being non-competitive.
Mm.
Because, like, for example, on Twitch, where people will do stuff like that, like, there is a competitive aspect in the same vein as Pokemon, where it's like collect them all or get the shinies, in a sense.
Uh-huh.
And, like, people do compete on that, and marketing knows people compete on that.
For sure.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's, like, the same, because it's obviously different.
Yeah,
I just want to point out that there is a slight
right.
argument to be made.
Yeah, right. I mean, the pulling itself, it's the fun of it. It's the gambling aspect that it makes it, like, fun in some occasions for some people. Like, that's why gambling on, like, regularly on casinos and all of that, it's technically fun. But that doesn't mean it's healthy, because sometimes you need to control yourself.
Oh, it's very unhealthy.
Yeah, it's super unhealthy, but every now and then, if you do it once or twice, that's fine. But there is a control to be had there.
My tip for gambling in general is, like, my grandfather taught me this. It's just like, if you are going to go to Vegas, you set up an account or a budget in cash or whatever. That's your gambling money. You lose that, you're done. You go back to your room, you rest.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make money with that money, go ahead, keep gambling. But be aware that, you could lose it. But that way you don't, you don't have the same temptation to dip into the gambling aspect, which is one reason I actually don't register my credit card on Steam or any other game service. So every single time I have to buy something, I have to enter it, and I have this, like, that 30 seconds to 1 minute of entering data to think about, do I really want this purchase?
That's perfect. I usually do that too, because I know I like to save time, because I'm kind of a lazy person. I like to have everything said and done so I can do it later, or I do it in that time. But in that case, having the time to decide for something is really, really helpful. And it's super useful to have that on.
It's very good if you have impulse control problems.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I do is with my credit card in my bank, I set it so that every time there's a purchase over 99 cents, which is basically everything these days, it sends me a text that your card is being used. One, it helps protect against fraud. Two, every time I spend something, I get to see physically, oh, my wallet is emptying, even though we don't really use wallets as much nowadays.
Right. You have a clear view of what you did, no matter how little the cost is. Like, I want a smoothie, I bought a smoothie, and I have it on my hand, and later on I finish it and I don't remember if I brought something when I was out. The phone.
Yeah, it's also just a great way to keep receipts for like taxes and things like that.
That's perfect, yeah. To keep it
Yeah.
calm and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been through a lot of money stuff with family, even though I do art. So I'm one of those weird artists that, it's like, numbers, yum.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fine. Everybody can, like, do the math for the taxes.
Oh yeah, it's totally fine. Like, if anything, it's recommended. It's just, like, I know so many artists that will, like, buy themselves into debt, and then they can't leave whatever lucrative job they're at, even if they hate it. Because they've just been buying too much and they have really bad habits. Like, this one guy would just buy anime figures all the time, and I think he was working on, like, he was either at 343 or Bungie at the time that this was happening, and he had cases and cases and cases and cases. I'm talking like tens of glass cases with figures full. He couldn't move anywhere, one, because he was super addicted to buying them. Two, he couldn't find another place that had enough space for all of his stuff that was reasonable.
Whoa.
So I mean, be careful with your addictions. Like, there are
control is
times.
important.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Wonderful person otherwise, but
Yeah, I mean,
a little bit of self-control goes a long way.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I went onto this tangent. Usually, you have to have control on that. I know it's free games and you can grind for it, but don't spend money on them that much. In my case, for example, I cannot like put myself into the luxury of expending on those games. That's what I grind on them. And it's technically fun for a few hours or the first couple of hours, but then it gets monotonous. So if you're playing a game, be sure that you will find that wall. And if you want to just pass through it, it will burn yourself. But I have to admit, I have my fun with Genshin, and when I get a special character on those 10 wishes I just saved it for a month ago, it's kind of satisfying. I have to admit, the grinding it's even more satisfying than buying them. To be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's like gambling. It's one of the oldest human pastimes in a sense. Like, it's okay to enjoy yourself, but you need to be able to look objectively at stuff and be like, am I hurting myself?
Yeah, that you need to like look at yourself sometime to time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's.
But I think as long as you're having fun, but I think it's also important to recognize, like, I have months where I'm just like, I play Arknights or whatever, I play Gacha, but at some point I'm like, okay, I'm not having fun anymore. And I need to be able to look at myself and be like, okay, put it down then. You're not having fun, stop wasting time and do something that you're going to have fun with.
Right. Yeah.
Because, I mean, as much as I like it, it's like, okay, I can just, if I don't get this character, I'm not going to die. I can just download a PNG of them and be like, they're in my collection.
Basically, yeah. Yeah, basic photo editing. Why not?
And I know for some people that's not enough, and that's fair. But for me, like, I feel like putting it in that context helps me be like a little bit more rational about my decision.
It helps.
Yeah.
In my case, I usually like try to take control on how much I play competitive games, because usually I have a kind of like a emotional issue with them, because I cannot play them for too much or I get into like a molding state or something like that. And I don't like just getting mad at a game, because the part of why I love video games is because I want to have fun with them. I don't want to hate them just because I have a bad experience with the community or the game itself. There are some games that I consider super fun, even more nowadays than before, but I cannot play them to save my life because they are full of toxic people that might get into my nerves a little bit. That's
I ran into that with Siege, I think.
Yeah, that's part of the reason
Rainbow
why.
Six Siege.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I left League of Legends. Part of the reason why I kind of left Siege. Well, Siege in the first place is a really competitive heavy game. There is no like I don't know how to put it. There is appeal in the game, right? There is the appeal of the agents having the abilities, having the power to break walls with the guns, having the ability to just plan and strategy everything. That's cool. But if you don't have coordination with your team, you end up with 2, maybe 3 games of kind of fun, and then you get like a little bit of frustration for not coordinating
Yeah.
well with the teammates. Unless you have
I
friends.
think it's
Unless you
I think it's very important to, like, if you're one of those people like us apparently.
Mhm.
Like I'm not saying Daenerys isn't good at gun games. I'm not that great at gun games. So I can get easily frustrated if I'm not winning, which is silly. It's a game.
Yeah.
But if I go in with friends and I'm like, okay, I'm not that great at shooting. You're really good at shooting, so I'm gonna take the utility character. I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and then I'm gonna do call-outs and hide in the corner and use the cameras and stuff to support you. Then we have a really great time.
Yeah.
So I think you need to, like, it's important to go into games with friends because you can't really do this with randoms. It's just something that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And just be like, I want to do this role today. Are you okay with that? And, if they are, then it's like, okay, let's all have fun doing the stuff we want, because they might really like DPS, but you might really just like setting up traps and things like that, which is fair, because both of them can get, wins or kills or whatever.
In my case, for example, my experience on Siege was I couldn't play first-person shooters in the first place because I have eye problems, and this was before I got my contact glasses. So I couldn't aim properly because of that. So I have stick myself to just support characters. I was playing Doc, I was playing Thermite on attack or something like that. I was just preparing the attack or saving people's life, healing them or something. Same with League of Legends, kinda. I was playing on the ADC role, which basically you need to teamwork with someone else on the bottom lane, which
Yeah.
it's basically
And if you
teamwork.
don't have voice, it's
Exactly.
awful.
It's so awful because you cannot coordinate to save your life, and the chat most of the time is used for basically insulting other people, and that's awful, to be completely honest.
It's for saying GG and throw or feed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I've never really seen League chat used for anything constructive if it's not past like 3 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
Like those first minutes, like, all right, guys, let's win, let's be positive, and then all of a sudden it's just gone forever.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, there's a reason I prefer teamfight tactics, and it's not because I really enjoy the gameplay that much. It's just so much less toxic.
Oh, for sure. The only toxic thing in teamfight tactics, at least for me, is the fact that I have the build system of League that I need to have certain amount of characters or certain builds on those characters so they work, but I also have to deal with the RNG of getting that character to the certain level I want. That's the only issue I have with those kind of out of chess games. But
I kind of like it though, because you go into the game knowing it's out of your hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like gambling, where it's like you spend money and you know you can lose, but you kind of have fun anyway.
And you don't lose anything, like IRL anything. You just pass your time with your friends, chat, and chill. That's super cool, actually. Yeah.
And then you laugh when they get totally steamrolled by your really cheesy assassin comp or something.
Yeah.
Like nobody's really losing it. You're just kind of making funny stuff happen.
Right. Yeah.
In a way, it's similar to Goat Simulator, which is a great game, even if it's really dumb and it was made in like 30 minutes.
Yeah. the concept is there. You are literally free to do whatever the fuck you want on that game. That's the point. But yeah. Speaking of, well, technically Goat Simulator is an open world game, or it counts as one, right?
I don't know. I feel like it's more of like a... Like, it's not open world. I feel like it's in that realm where, like, Tony Hawk Pro Skater was, like, really big stages.
Oh,
but
right.
But open world wasn't, like, a concept yet.
Well, for Tony Hawk, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I'm talking like Tony Hawk 64, not like Tony Hawk PlayStation or anything like that.
Yeah, either way, the concept of open world didn't came out until GTA 3, if I remember. Which is
it was somewhere around there. Because I guess arguably it would be like, really old games like Wasteland and Fallout would fall under open world in a sense, but they were like very limited open worlds just because of the technology at the time.
Right, yeah.
But like I think those would be the first true open world games. Because like you could ignore the main quest in those games and you could just do what you want. Like yeah, you'll get a game over, but like you won't get a game over for like an in-game year or 3 or something like that.
Right.
So it's like you can do what you want. You can have fun. You can totally ignore saving your vault or whatever, which is hilarious in hindsight.
You can do a deathless run then.
Yeah, it's like all these people are like, all right, we're sending you out into the death world to go get the chip, and you're totally unqualified, and we're just giving you a pistol. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Walks out the cave. All right, let's see, where do I party?
What the hell, bro?
I mean, if somebody did that to me in real life, I feel like that would be my response. I'm like, this is no way this is gonna work out.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not even trying. Now, if they gave me like a backpack and a canteen and, you know, like a map and, you know, all these things that would be like, okay, you have a fighting chance. I'm like, all right, cool.
Survival tools.
I'll give it a go.
Yeah. What can I do with a fucking pistol to a rat? That's the point.
I know. Like, that's the funniest thing. Like, your first enemy in that game is a rat that you can barely hit with the pistol.
And do you have any
like...
extra ammo for that, or is just the pistol with the basic the basic clip? The hell?
I think you have like one bundle of ammo.
Well, at least they give me extra ammo.
Yeah, like I think you can shoot the gun once and then like reload it once, and I think that's about all you have.
God damn it.
And like that's what they send you out with. They're staying behind like a giant titanium steel alloy door, and they're just like, all right, you can have this magazine and this loaded gun, and yeah, that's it. Good luck.
What the hell, bro?
Yeah,
old games can be a little bit too savage and sometimes.
Yeah, but they're fun in that way too.
Yeah, that's kind of the charm.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the old arcade games that were made specifically to take the quarters.
Yeah, I feel like the only modern example of that would be New Vegas. Ooh. Because a lot of people don't know this, but the game lets you kill like anyone. Mm-hmm. Like even main quest people, like at any time. Like there's no restrictions on that, which is incredibly rare these days. But it's incredibly funny that like you can completely ignore the main quest that it starts you out with. Just walk towards the Lucky 38. Walk in and just fight your way to like the control room or whatever and kill one of the biggest characters in the game.
Whoa.
And nothing stops you from doing it, and the game adapts to it.
Wow, okay, that's going back to the beginning, which is the freedom when it comes to playing a game. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So that's like, why New Vegas is so popular. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's because it's an actual... Like, Fallout 3 is a fine game.
It's an open
Fallout
game.
3 is fine. I'm not gonna bash it. Like, Bethesda does really good set design and things like that. I feel like they're a little bit weak story-wise, but Fallout 3 is okay. Mm-hmm. New Vegas is on a whole nother level. Because you can do so many things, and the game is just like, okay.
Wow.
It doesn't have like a fail state. It doesn't say like, oh, you know, the chosen one did this, but it's a time time paradox, so you need to go back and do this.
Right. There is no retry because you didn't fail anything technically. Huh.
Yeah, I think the only game that does that kind of hand-holding, but it does in such a funny way that I forgive it, is actually Metal Gear Solid 5. So like if it's a really important mission and you kill like, let's say, a main character, then the game is like, oh, you've caused a time paradox because it messes with the games later in the timeline. And it's like, you can't do that just for this mission, but all the other missions you can do however you want. You can approach the mission however you want as long as you complete the main objective. I'm just like, okay, that's a little cheeky. I get it. That's funny though. Like, it is one of the most open games in letting you, like, achieve your objectives, but it will be like, okay, we can't let you do that just because it messes with everything else throughout the game.
Okay, so it's just one roadblock, then you can go apeshit, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, if you... In the first mission in that game, you have, like, 3 days to rescue Kazuhiro Miller, because he's been kidnapped.
Mm-hmm.
And they're torturing him, and they've estimated that, he's only going to last that long. I don't know how they got an estimate, whatever. That's not the point. If you just wander around in the game for 3 days, or if you smoke your cigar for 3 days, Kaz dies. And the game is like, what are you doing? There's been a time paradox. Like, it's not just giving you a bullshit time limit at the beginning. Like, that time limit is actually there.
What the hell?
Which is hilarious. Because it's a huge callback to Metal Gear Solid 3, where there's a sniper boss that you can fight. And he's this super old man, and he's been, like, sleeping in a wheelchair in every cutscene up until this point. Like, waiting for this moment, like, saving energy for this fight. And if you just leave your game on, and you keep it, like, in your, like, pause screen or whatever, because the time still flows in the Metal Gear pause screens, he'll die of old age.
Of course it will.
Yeah.
But how much time do you need to wait for that?
I think you just leave it on, like, a day. I think, like, 2 or 3 days.
Huh.
And he just passes away. So, like, you can go on a weekend trip or something and just leave your game on. And you beat that boss fight. It's hilarious.
What the hell? Oh no.
It's definitely one of my favorite boss fights just because it's so realistic in that way.
Just 3 days to kill an old man. Huh.
Well, I mean, like, he's ancient. He's ready to go. But he was like a legendary sniper in, like, World War II. But he was an old man then, and he's an even older man now during the Cold War. So he's ready to go. He's done.
Job's done. Needs to go.
But he assumed that you were gonna fight and not just hide behind, the first tree in the arena for 3 days.
What the hell? Oh man. Look here. I need to play more of those, but part of the reason why I'm not willing to, it's because of the cinematics. At least for me, I'm a kind of guy that wants more action on a game than just watching a cinematic for like 5 to 10 minutes.
I feel like there's a lot of action in the games, honestly.
And the stealth action itself, it's not my kind of gameplay in the first place, but yeah.
You're actually free to ignore the stealth action in a lot of them.
Huh.
Like, it's more of a suggestion than a requirement. It definitely makes the game, like, I guess more...
open.
I shouldn't say more interesting, because some people aren't interested in that.
Yeah, but it's more open. You still have, like, the strict mission stuff, but you can do that mission.
Yeah, like,
whatever you want.
You can, even in the first Metal Gear Solid game, like, you can just run in, do some judo on them, throw them to the ground, knock them out, and just walk by and take their gun. Like, you can do that. The game lets you do that.
Huh. So, we're going back to Portal. You can solve the puzzle whatever the fuck you want. Even the simple version or the creative version. You have the creativity on there. Huh.
Yeah, there's a lot of really silly ways to do it. Like,
wow.
I think in Metal Gear Solid 5, like, there's the classic you can sneak around in a box.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can actually... So there's these, like, decoys where it blows up like a balloon of Snake as a decoy. And they'll say, like, pretty good, huh? Because that's its catchphrase.
Yeah.
And what you can do is you can actually set one of those down and make it one of the remote control ones. Climb over it, or crawl over it with a box. Slide out of the box because it leaves the box there for like a minute or two. And then if you get an enemy's attention and they see the box, they'll go check out the box because like, why is there a box in the middle of the Afghanistan desert? And they're inspecting it. You can trigger your thing and it will pop out of the box like you would pop out of the box. Like, it animates that perfectly, and it's so ridiculous that they put all this in, but it's so much fun. And another stupid thing you can do is you can put the balloon in the pathway of where they're going to investigate, because they won't see the balloon because it's kind of like a trap thing. And if they walk over it and you inflate it, You can inflate it and knock them out and throw them.
What the hell?
Like, it's so interactive. It's dumb. I love it.
What the hell? Oh man. I mean, yeah, that sounds super fun now that I think of it. I might need to. I might need to try it. The only
there was one.
Huh?
There was one actually that I forgot. This is probably the most creative but disturbing thing I've ever seen in the Metal Gear games. So Metal Gear Solid 5, you can kidnap them, and like you kidnap soldiers from other armies and PMCs and bring them to yours, basically, which is fine. They're mercenaries. They really don't care. Yeah, it's still kidnapping. That's still bad. Don't do that. But that's not the point.
Yeah.
So what one player decided to do, which is horrible, like this is all of the war crimes wrapped up in one. He knocks out a guard. He puts C4 on the guard because for some reason C4 sees the body as a physical object that it can stick to. He waits for the enemy helicopter to come over because it's like scanning the area because he raised the alarm. And he puts the fulcrum balloon, which pulls them up into the sky, on the soldier. And as he's going up, he detonates the C4, which is going up with the corpse, or not the corpse, the knocked out body. And he blows it up next to the helicopter, and he takes both of them out. And I'm like, why is this coded into the game? How?
What the fuck, bro? What the? I mean, for the fun of the video game, that's fine, but what the hell?
Yeah, in a video game, it's fine. Like, that's fine. The context is like, you're playing a game, whatever. But like, just the fact that somebody had that idea and tried it and made it work is just like a little bit disturbing to me. But still on that window of funny.
Yeah, it's still funny, but who is most disturbing, the game itself or the guy? What?
I know.
Okay, that's the funny part, actually. Who is more disturbing, the game itself or the guy? What the hell?
I feel like it's the guy, because if you look at Breath of the Wild, like, there's a lot of interactions that they just put the physics system in there and they didn't think about it. So, like, people launching themselves on logs, like, 20 miles and then jumping off right before it impacts, they didn't plan for that. It's just part of the physics system.
Yeah, you're recreating Dragon Ball there. That mercenary that surfs into a tree.
And Nintendo, like a smart company, decided, okay, we're not going to take it out. Because they could patch it, but they're like, nah, this is funny, whatever.
That's fun. That's technically part of the fun of the game, so yeah.
Yeah.
At least they keep that.
I think 343, when they were remaking Halo 1 or something in Blood Gulch, they took out this really old glitch where you could run at one of the bunker, like, triangle walls, and the polygon was, like, misshaped in the original. It would launch you, like, 30 feet up in the air. And people would use that and then snipe from the air. They took that out, and people were really pissed off. Like, that was part of the experience, because back in the day, they didn't update games. They just launched. This is what you get.
Yeah. That was a finished product. There was no like updates or patches or something like that. That's part of the charm for all games, actually, because nowadays you get the games, but either you have to update them, buy DLC, or both at the same time in some cases.
Yeah. That's actually become a big issue in the Skyrim modding community, because now there's so many mods to update that like major mod packs will actually be like, okay, go into your Steam settings, turn off auto updates for this, take out this piece of code so it doesn't like re-enable it at a later date when they push something. Because like if they do, then your whole mod list is just ruined.
Right, because it meshes the files and all that.
Yeah, and like the amount of things, like people always talk about like the lost history of games, because we are losing media sometimes, like when they take down ROM sites and things like that. I understand why they do it legally, but sometimes those ROMs are just like nowhere else. Like that's the last place they are.
I mean, and in case of okay, continue please.
Yeah, like I feel like Skyrim is like a microcosm of that, because some mods just get banned. Some mod authors, you know, pass away. Some mod authors move on from the community, and nobody's there to update them. Some of them don't have the original code to update them. Some of them just are beyond other people's understanding because the spaghetti is so much, or the code is so much spaghetti code that they've just lost track. And like, when these updates happen and some of these mods get left behind, I just feel like a part of my past is just no longer accessible. Like, it's still there, but nobody can use it anymore, and it's weird.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the mods itself, it's technically understandable from the creator's perspective. They move on, they have other things to do, or if something happens that pushes them out of the community or the modding scene itself. And seeing those
I don't
mods
blame anyone. Like,
for sure.
I think it's like a blameless kind of event.
Mm.
But it's just, it's one of those things I like to think about.
Yeah, it's fine. Going back a little bit to the ROM type of stuff. Well, funny enough, Midori thinks that it's technically a gray area when it comes to ROMs. You technically can have a ROM as long as you have the OG game physically. And
Yeah.
And you're right. There is some games that nowadays are either impossible to remake, are either way too like busy in terms of copyright and all of that. And some of them really need a remake or a remaster or at least a relaunch of that specific game.
Yeah, like I love like the retro game stores or like the Nintendo like library. I forget what it's called right now, but like the library where they have like retro games.
The Nintendo
'Cause, like,
online system is?
Yeah, like the Nintendo online store, like they continuously try and bring old games back, which I think is great. Because like one thing I have to explain to a lot of people about Nintendo, which is weird because like it's defending corporate, which is whatever, not what I normally do. But like Nintendo realizes that they made a good game. Why would they ever lower the price for their game? Like, it's a digital product. It's not getting any better or worse. And I respect that as a creator. It's like knowing your position on what your pricing is. And I think I wish there were more sales, of course, as a person with limited money. Like, yeah, of course I want that. But at the same time, I think that them having that attitude also allows them to bring back their older games without like loss or fearing a loss of revenue from bringing those old games back.
Right.
Because a lot of companies will be like, oh, how can we justify the $40-$50 price tag or $20-$30 whatever it was when the game was made. Like people will just not buy it. But Nintendo's like, okay, whatever, our games are still worth as much as they were back then. We'll just adjust for inflation and put it at that price. And I'm like, okay, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, the game is already made. Why would you charge again for something that is technically already made? Full price. I mean, you can charge for something already made if you want to resell it. It's kind of like a used type of product, but technically it isn't because technically it's digital now. It's not physical anymore. That's what happens with stuff like the 3D anniversary collection for Mario, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy. Those 4 games, you cannot find them physically anymore, like officially sell them.
Yeah, Sunshine is just impossible to find.
Unless you want to spend a lot of money on Amazon for a second-hand version or something. Same with Galaxy, same with 64. Well, Galaxy not that much because it was a really popular game and it's technically a masterpiece, according to way too many people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great game. I wouldn't call it a masterpiece, honestly. But I think Super Mario Odyssey was definitely like on the edge of being a masterpiece. Yeah. I had really high standards for that word though, so whatever. If I had to say any game in the Mario series was a masterpiece, I would say Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door comes the closest.
Why is that?
It just has so much style and love, and the fact that it was made in the GameCube era, and it still looks just as good as the day I played it because it's so stylized, just speaks volumes for the art direction. The story's still good. the gameplay is like very classic, very simple RPG, but at the same time, it's like it has a very rewarding system of, you know, basically rhythm game, hitting the button at the right time to get extra damage or things like that. Like there's just no downside in the way that it was made, I think.
Oh. Well, yeah.
That and it just has like a really lovable cast, and it's great to see Mario from a different perspective. Because you get to go like all around different kingdoms or regions and things like that. And it just gives so much more life than the normal Mario games where it's like, oh, go rescue the princess. Like, yeah, that's still part of your quest, but now you gotta, you know, rescue this place, solve this problem, join in a wrestling match, uncover a Oriental Express mystery train section, like all of these crazy things because it's like an RPG. But it's so fun to see Mario go through all these things that aren't really like held back by the princess narrative.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you haven't played any of the Paper Mario games, I would say the first Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door, like mandatorily fun.
I can say the same for Mario and Luigi games, specifically Superstar Saga, because...
Oh, yeah. I was going to say Superstar Saga, but I think just barely Paper Mario beats it out for me. But I love Superstar Saga.
Superstar Saga, I think it's one of the few games that go completely off of the princess narrative, if I remember correctly. Well,
yeah.
Outside of Bowser. Like the princess still in trouble.
It's there, but it's not like the main thing at all.
Exactly. The princess is technically captured by the villain, but this time it's a completely different villain that force you to work with Bowser too, which is funny.
Yeah. and I love when you work with Bowser because it's like you get all these really funny things, like especially like in the Paper Mario series. Like there's a lot of sections where like you'll switch over to Peach or something. And maybe she's disguised in the castle, sneaking around trying to send Mario a letter. Which is great, because it gives her agency too, which is really fun. And it's surprisingly progressive for when it was made.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, you see Koopas just kind of like milling about the castle, you know, standing guard. But since you're in disguise, you can talk to them and their guard is down. And it turns out Bowser's, you know, generally a pretty reasonable boss. They have like a union as, you know, henchmen. Like they complain about normal daily things, or like the food's not good this week, or stuff like that, and you're just like, wow, you know, it's like, is Bowser really a terrible guy, or does he just use really terrible methods for some things?
Politics are not his forte, that's for sure.
Yeah, like he kidnaps them, but like in terms of like Geneva Convention, like prisoner of war, like he's a darling. Like
yeah, I mean, when it
it's
comes
just
to
hilarious. Like I normally would never say that about anything war related or something like that, but it's Mario, so it's fine.
But yeah, I mean, Bowser can be really hard when it comes to politics, but I don't believe I'm saying this, but he might be better at managing than politics. Holy shit. I know,
it's hilarious, and it's great to see characters just played so differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a fresh tone for a character that doesn't feel off, usually.
Yeah.
Because usually when you give a new personality to an old established character like Bowser, for example, it can feel off, but in this case it doesn't, because it fits on the character. It's on the book.
Yeah. I think another thing, like in what was it, like Mario Party 3 or 4, you know, out of the 8 or 10 Mario Parties are there.
There are more.
There's always been like the Bowser panel where like he does like his really, really hard mini games, or like really crazy consequences.
Or one-sided mini games. Yeah.
But the way that he's written in the localization, like you can tell he just wants to be part of the board game that they're playing, basically.
He wants us to chime in.
Like he doesn't really care about the villainy of it all. He just kind of hams it up with the evil laugh, and like you can kind of see like him whispering to himself or like plotting behind his back. Who's just like, this is gonna be great. I get to see them struggle with this game. It's gonna be great fun. I'm just like, it's a little bit endearing, even if he is a villain.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best kind of villain, the one that you actually feel a little bit bad for, that you understand a bit.
Yeah, the understandable type of villain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what separates.
And I think that's the best kind of villain for kids as well.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I have this problem with Hollywood a lot. They make villains just totally like irredeemable people, like scumbags.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a big danger with that is like you will have kids that don't have like moral standards set up, or they have like really messed up families or whatever, and they'll see that person as like normal, but like, oh, they're successful, they have a yacht and all those things, and like they might see that as normal or relatable, which is like, oh god, what have we done? Whereas with Bowser, he's more of a prankster than anything.
Yeah.
And like I feel like if a kid accidentally empathizes with that, like, yeah, he might be a little bit, you know, of a little shit, but he's not gonna, you know, commit war crime.
Yeah, he will not kill anybody. He's just playing pranks or trying to mess around with Mario and Peach and friends, basically.
Yeah.
That's most of the time, yeah. Then there's Mario Kart that you can get war crimes done, and you don't need to empathize with any character there.
Which is another brand of fun, honestly, for games. Like, I have a very complicated look on things. Like, I do get political, and I do think that some topics are better, you know, left maybe not quite as often touched.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm like, when you look at games like Command and Conquer, where you can literally play as like an angry mob of like terrorist-funded dissidents, but just the VFX for it are just so hilarious, and it's so overpowered that it's just bordering on insanity, but the game is so fun.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm glad that so many games have free reign to make what they want, because then you get things like that. Even if you do get some of the bad stuff along the way, I think.
I mean, that's
for
why
the good stuff that you get out of it, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, that's why Gandhi with a nuclear bomb is a fucking meme. Civilization is part for that.
and the best part about that meme is that it was totally unintentional. It was just an integer overflow.
Yeah, that was technically a coding error for the... I don't remember if it was the first or second civilization, but yeah, Gandhi had nuclear powered.
Yeah, it was the first one. I think like somebody set his default at like, he has like a 2 out of 10% chance kind of thing to use a nuke. Like you have to really push him to use it. And but I think somebody put in like, because of like his religious and ethics system, which you can decide throughout the game, if they take that, which they always take it because that's what they were hard coded to do, it would integer over to 10 because it goes past 0, and it had to reset because that's how coding worked on that. So he would always go directly on the text tree, straight for the nukes.
What the... Oh man. Sometimes when it comes to those kind of memes, they can be super fun. Like the Gandhi one is super fun. And when it comes to politics on games, I prefer them not to do that, but when they do, I really, really appreciate when they do it on a really fun way or a funny way. Or both in some cases. Like Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, it's supposed to be taken serious in some areas, but it's so hilariously fun and it's...
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Revengeance that I think has made it last this long is that it does have genuinely good political criticism. Like, I don't want to say it, but the whole "Make America, whatever" again.
I mean, yeah.
It called that phrase out before it was a thing.
Yeah, I know.
Like it released before that was a thing.
I mean,
and it warned us about all of that stuff happening. And everybody's like, funny meme, haha. And then it happens, and we're like, oh fuck.
God damn it.
Kojima, stop predicting the future. You keep making shitty predictions, and they keep turning out right.
God damn it. Yeah, technically the best and worst thing is you can either skip the dialogue or just zone out during it, and you still get the dialogue in form of a song that it's actually a banger, which is funny. Collective Consciousness. Yeah. Literally, it's just Armstrong's speech. giving a song form, and it's whoa.
Yeah, and the best part is that his speech, like, when he changes his speech, he's like, all right, enough with the bullshit. The song changes too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's a wonderful game, and I think it's wonderfully made. As with all the Metal Gears, like, I think if you are going to handle politics, and just for reference, Kojima is, like, intensely anti-war, anti-imperialist as his point of view. But he doesn't let that, like, really dilute his games or how he writes them.
I think
like,
it even helps.
He won't make the imperialist person, like, immediately be, like, obvious bad guy. But he will show, like, these are all of the horrible effects that happen as a domino effect because of that.
Right.
And I think when you handle it that way, when it's so realistic, yet carried by camp and humor and good gameplay, and just a really amazing development team, because it's not all Kojima, of course. Like, I feel like that's the best way to handle politics in games. Otherwise, yeah, I agree with you. I'd rather it just be a joke or left out entirely.
I mean, for one, I wish there was like a possibility for getting Revengeance 2 or something, because I really appreciate the change of gameplay from the like traditional stealth type of mission games from Metal Gear Solid games to action stylish game, basically hack and slash, which from Prattulum is the bread and butter of their games. I really love those games. They're so fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think that while we might not get Revengeance 2, I feel like Death Stranding did well enough that other companies are willing to give Kojima more free reign on stuff. Yeah. And, you know, maybe it won't be the same, but nothing will ever be the same as those things. So I think it's okay to move on and just enjoy what we got.
Oh, for sure.
But I am sad that we won't get more of that, probably.
At least a re-release for the new generation of consoles, maybe, for Revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something to wait for Konami to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I hope Konami, you know, does it. I don't agree with a lot of their business practices or the decision to fire their best director. But, you know, I still hope that they make cool stuff, because that's more cool stuff for us. So.
Yeah, that's more enjoyment for the players. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Konami usually lately has been so weird when it comes to that. Like,
it's because they're obsessed with pachinko machines. That's honestly it. It's because pachinko just makes so much money in Japan for like so little investment
and effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just need a cool set of characters or a cool IP, and you get pachinko machines running. That's basically
like it. Even Castlevania died at some point for pachinko machines.
Castlevania, Silent Hill, even SNK games like King of Fighters, Vital Fury, and all of that. All of those were converted into pachinko machines at some point. Even Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sucks a little bit, but yeah.
It does, but at the same time, it's like, if it doesn't kill it, that's great. But it's like,
yeah,
when you have legends just, you know, disappearing.
Yeah.
Like Castlevania,
which, you know, Japan, into
like he left to make Bloodstained, which is also a great game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, when that happens, I feel like it's an utter shame. But, you know, business is business, whatever, blah, 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 blah.
Business need money, and if you are a business, you want to make easy money. That's your easy money, the pachinko. That sucks, but it is what it is. I mean,
I just wish more businesses would realize the value of customer satisfaction and reputation.
I mean, sometimes you can hear the audience, but sometimes that isn't a good idea. Well, depending on the situation, because it's very weird, because sometimes the customer have the reason to like want a game to come back or want an IP to revive, but some other times that might not be the case. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember. There was a how to say, there was a time that so many people wanted a game to come back, but they at the same time didn't want it to come back in a certain way or something. I'm not remembering which game was. Oh, whatever. The thing is, there's some.
I know which one you're talking about. I think it's Mega Man.
Oh yeah, Mega Man. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a shit show.
Mm-hmm. Then there is the games that have too many like intellectual properties in just one iteration of the game that makes it impossible to come back. Like for example, Def Jam. I played Def Jam through a few streams and I already finished it. And I can tell that is a game that cannot happen again because there is so many people, so many rappers that either have other careers outside of music nowadays, or they cannot be found, or at least they are hard to contact. Yeah. And just to give like a new mix of voice lines or remake those voice lines and graphics and all of that, that will take time. The graphics are not the issue. The issue are the persons behind the characters. Like, how do you convince Ice-T to come back for a fighting game that was basically just his rapper career back in the day?
I would just put like a bottle of iced tea on the porch and just be like, you know what this means.
A bottle of iced tea with the Def Jam.
Of course, it would not work at all, but I think it'd be funny, so I'd at least get a chuckle out of it.
Hey, a funny trailer will be, if you think about it. It will be good promotion.
Yeah, I mean, if you want a funny fighting game, I would recommend God Hand.
Ooh, God Hand. Oh, yeah, I want to try that. That's a really... It's a really hard game, but it's also really funny and weird. Kind of like... There is a person that described God Hand as a JoJo, but with a different story and characters, basically. It's the weirdness of JoJo incarnated into a game.
Yeah, I can see that as fair.
Yeah, I want to play that. I really do.
Yeah. I think Meat played it the other day.
Yeah, I have another game on the list. There we go.
Yeah, it's a really good game though.
But yeah. What else I have in the docket? Hold on. I guess. Okay, so going back to Metal Gear, have you played through all of them or just the specific ones?
Oh, I've played through all of them.
Ooh, including the NES one?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's nice.
I had to emulate it because I wasn't, around at the time to buy that hardware, but yeah.
Yeah, understandably so. Have you ever played other, like, similar type of stealth games before?
Similar stealth games?
Not before the Metal Gear itself, but maybe after you played Metal Gear?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of, like, what really was around for stealth like that. I feel like the closest was Tom Clancy at the time.
Oh.
Like before Rainbow Six, when it was still like stealth-based gameplay.
Splinter Cell.
Yeah, Splinter Cell. That's it. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. I played a little bit of that, but I feel like playing Metal Gear spoiled me in comparison.
Yeah, you can do whatever the fuck you want on Metal Gear, but on Splinter Cell, the stealth is the main game. You cannot go after that, okay? Unless you want to fail the mission, which is stupid in some cases, but yeah.
Yeah, like it's still a good game. I just feel like it's very hard to compete with something as good as Metal Gear, because every single Metal Gear has been really ahead of its time and really pushed like technology as well.
Oh, for sure.
Like Metal Gear Solid 2 wasn't possible when they were thinking of it. Like they had to make the what's called the Emotion Engine, the EE, for the PS2 for it to be possible. And like people don't realize how big of a deal that was at the time. Like, you couldn't export a PlayStation 2. No, what was it? Yeah, it was PlayStation 2. You couldn't export a PlayStation 2 out of Japan at the time without a military hardware license.
Oh.
Because the new processor was just that good. Like, it was that cheap and that good that they were worried about people using it for that.
Huh. Wow. I didn't even
Yeah,
know.
it's one of those like really obscure things. It's just like wow in hindsight.
So you're telling me there is a component on a PS2 that could be used as technically military grade stuff?
At the time, it was strong enough that it could be used to make at least like medium grade kind of stuff
Oh.
that would fall under military.
Oh.
But like obviously I shouldn't say like what could be made in
No.
But
It's fine.
Yeah,
Just the
a good
fact that-
example that doesn't really give it away, but everyone like heard about it in popular culture, so it's fine. Like, you know, the PS3 superclusters
Yeah.
that they would make, like those that also needed a license for that because of that reason, because people could make supercomputers that were just, you know, not authorized in a sense.
Wow. I mean,
Because it was so much cheaper to make one. Like, it was the difference between buying a $1.5 million supercomputer or buying like $15,000 worth of PS3s.
huh. Wow.
And it was ridiculous how good the PS3s were at their job. Like,
Wow.
they shouldn't have been that good, but they were.
Wow. Okay, that's impressive. Usually, when I see a new console coming out, like a new generation or something like that, I'm kind of impressed, but I'm not thinking like they can be other completely different and maybe dangerous things. Like,
Yeah, nowadays they're basically just desktop computers. But back then they really had to like optimize and streamline like certain aspects and sacrifice other things to make the production worth it.
right.
But because of that, they would always push like one thing really hard, like the CPU, to handle way more than what would be reasonable these days.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, actually. Holy shit. Well,
Yeah, it's a very interesting history behind the development histories of those things.
huh. Yeah, I need to dig a little bit more on that. I usually look at those kind of facts more than I want to admit, but yeah, I heard about the PS2 being able to, well, be used on the military, but I never heard about the PS3 being close to that. Wow.
Yeah, it's a bit more of a like. It wasn't so much military in terms of like the publicity that it got, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It was more
More of a
like, you remember the protein folding stuff?
Yeah.
Like that was its big like claim to fame, I guess.
Oh.
And it did make a lot of progress on that actually.
Huh. Well,
But it's just like, you know,
yeah.
people are always more interested in the negative or the violent side of things, unfortunately. So.
Hmm. Yeah. It is what it is, I guess. But yeah.
But it shouldn't be. We can be better.
Oh yeah, us we can be better, of course. The other people is on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're good here. Hold on, I forgot to mention something for those who are watching right now. There is a command that is !TG. That leads to Tavish here socials. If you want to check them out, please do. And
Hello.
yeah. Let's see.
And if you don't want to, I won't hold it against you. This time.
This time.
Dun 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 dun. No.
Yeah.
I just enjoy my bad threats.
Yeah,
I don't mean any of them though.
Yeah, it's fine though. Okay, so I'm curious. What do you use to play on Siege? You say you play more support type of characters, but which specifically do you remember?
I really liked Finka because she had just like the bottomless magazine machine gun, but she also had like a really useful health skill. but I think in terms of like my most successful was just Mute. Actually, like he's so basic, but his stuff is just always useful. His guns are pretty okay, and he has a shotgun, which people always really underestimate in Siege, and it really pissed me off because they're like, "Oh, you're playing with a shotgun, you're throwing the game." I'm like, "No, I can make an infinite number of holes in the walls. I can freak the enemy out by putting them there, and if they're around the corner, I don't need to aim."
Yeah, you're right. Well, the
Yeah.
only downside is the spread of the bullets, but aside of that, yeah, the shotgun is a
Yeah,
a really good tool. That's why casting
like,
is so popular too.
Yeah, like you can't get a headshot with it, of course, but you
Mhm.
have your SMG or your pistol, and guess what? I got so many stealth kills using the suppressed pistol. Because guess what? People always put down the suppressor too. But guess what? Most people don't know that instead of just the sound being lowered, you can't see bullet lines if they don't hit you and it's suppressed.
Right.
So I could take like, 5 pot shots and miss and have like no consequences.
Right. They don't see the bullet line. That's right.
Yeah, and if I hit them, they either lose quite a bit of health or I get a headshot.
Yeah. Wow.
Or I use the little SMG, which is like the ridiculously high rate of fire one.
Oh, that's right.
And I just spray and pray because I can't aim that. I know what I'm good at, and aiming is only on a good day. Okay.
Yeah, same. But yeah, you're right. I never thought of that. Like it makes sense. Technically, the noise suppressor is usually for stealth. That's why.
Yeah, I feel like it was a good compromise gameplay wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually pretty good. Huh.
Yeah.
But
Someday I might play it again, but we'll see.
yeah, I'll be down for playing again. Just need a new group of people for that, or just call the boys and let's say to play them once more.
Yeah, honestly, having like a private server of VTubers that could just play Siege and mess around and nobody needs to get salty because we're all just having fun, that'd be great.
Of course. Not just for Siege though, maybe other games like TFT, maybe Apex, I don't know. I need to.
Yeah, TFT, Apex,
Fall Guys.
I mean, they already do it with Minecraft. Really any game that I feel like you can control who's coming in. It's probably gonna be a better time.
For sure. Well,
yeah, I'm all for playing with randoms and like finding new people, but those are the people that I pick up and bring to like a private server so I can play with them later.
Right, you know how to pick up the person you like the most. That's fine.
Yeah, because I'm like, you're good. We work well together. I can't play today, but if you have time later.
That's super fine, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's at least how I played games.
Yeah. I mean, I like that mentality. That makes you a little bit selective, but at the same time, you're meeting new people and like experience them for the first time.
Yeah.
It's
fine. I don't like being like hyper like elitist or anything or like closing doors. Like if it's not working, I'll just cut ties or whatever. But I'd rather give most people a try because there's a lot of interesting people that I've met that way. So. For
sure.
I feel like having a closed garden or whatever it's called, a walled garden. That's the word I'm looking for. It's a recipe for short-term good, but long-term just stagnation. So.
Going back a little bit to Siege, I like I said, I've used to play also support roles since I had problems with my vision, and usually when I was playing, I either played Kite or Dog on defense and maybe Thermite on attack. I was surprisingly good at putting the bombs with Thermite, planting the bomb on the side and everything.
Yeah, I feel like when you have a player who like acknowledges that they either have vision problems or can't aim or they don't have the twitch reflex, but then they just fully dedicate to something else like planting the bomb or being stealthy, it's really surprising what can happen.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, because you're technically trying to enjoy the game your own way. That's actually something I appreciate for some competitive and non-competitive online games that lets you just play the game whenever you want.
Yeah, I feel like in Siege, like it's just people expect so much that it's just going to be like a firefight that they just completely dismiss the fact that maybe somebody's sneaking around really quietly.
That's why Caveira is a thing, and that's why you need to watch out for yourself.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, that's why some rounds I would just take a shotgun and I'd be like, all right, you see these walls? I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, this team is using a cav. Oh, this is gonna be funny. I just rappel on the wall, knock out all of the walls, and then like two of my friends who are like really good shots would just be sniping. And they would just panic because they're like, this isn't a strat that happens. They're not supposed to be bringing shotguns on offense.
Oh, come on, man.
Like, well, maybe you're just not as good at the game as you thought you were.
Meta is not always everything, dude. Don't oblige to the book because you will be surprised. That's how it works.
That's a big problem with meta. It only works if other people are playing the meta against the meta.
Yeah, that's why.
The second that stops, it's over.
Yeah, that's why it's only used for like pro games. Like if you're like going to a tournament or something like that with your team, that's when you use the book. That's when you use the meta. If not, if you're just playing and just bitching about the meta, that's fine too. That's the other reason why I think the meta is used for, just for players to bitch about.
Yeah.
Which is fun because you can bitch about the meta and then play either against the meta or with the meta, which is fine.
Oh, I always play against it.
It's more fun like that. It's more fun like that, of course.
We do a little trolling here.
Yeah.
I mean, I would just like the amount of games that I just don't do meta is just like. I remember playing Battlefield and people were like, "Oh, this is the best rifle. This is the best whatever." I'm just like, I just take the gun that I like and then I take like an RPG on like a non-vehicle level, and I'm just like, I'm gonna have fun. And guess who gets the most kills is probably gonna be me or my friend.
Yeah. Well, depending on the match, but yeah.
Yeah, and if it's not us, I'm just like, I wasn't playing to win. I was playing to have fun.
That's part of the reason why you play games.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of people forget that.
Yeah, games are supposed to be fun. If you have fun grinding the game to be good at it and to be like basically perfect at it at the competitive level, that's good because that's part of the reason why you love a game in the first place. But if you're playing to have fun, but at the same time you're forcing yourself to just go with the meta, unless you have fun doing that, that's not how games work. You have to experiment a little bit from time to time to get a fresh look to a modernist game. That's why if you're playing Siege, for example, and you just play like me, I used to play a lot of just Kaid and just Castle, depending on the round. But experimenting with other agents, it's fun too. Like trying out maybe Maverick, maybe Lion, maybe trying out Doc or Pulse or Mute. That's always fun. Always is fun to get a fresh look to a character that you don't use it that much.
Yeah, I think it's always good to go with things like Mute too, because it's like...
It's a safe bet.
It's very basic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if you're just practicing the game, I think it's great to take a really basic character like Rook or Mute or Bandit, because you just set up your stuff really quick, and then you just get ready. You get ready to fight, and even if you die, your gadgets still help the team.
Same with Jagger.
Yeah.
Yeah. They usually.
So I think.
Yeah.
All those people that are like buying the newest characters or things like that, when they're like a new player or something, I'm just like, you're gonna get really confused and it's not gonna be fun.
Unless you know how to read, because sometimes
Reading is hard. We don't do that here.
Exactly. We just want to play, just shoot people.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I feel like it's sad because I know people like that though. It's just like I'm just like, read the directions. They're right there, please.
No,
And
I
you're
don't
just like,
wanna.
No. It's like, why do you do this to me?
Why, bro? Why? But yeah.
Have I sinned, God? Is this my punishment?
I'm guessing so.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't blame him.
Me neither. It's anybody is free to play the game whenever they want, but if you want me to explain something that is written just in front of you, nuh-uh. Try to learn it the hard way then. That's more fun.
Yeah. Better just play around and, it might make sense to you.
Yeah, that's how...
I mean, like, I just played TF2 demo, like, right off the bat. Nobody explained anything to me. I like bounce physics. I'm like, and I just got it immediately. I'm just like, okay, this is great. I'm having fun.
I know. When you can play a game without the game telling you how to, and you're just finding the stuff you need to do or how to do them on your own, that's even funny. It's just super fun. And another thing, like, for example, on Dead by Daylight, like, I know we played it the other day, but one thing that I found even more fun than just finding someone that explains to you what's going on in some matches, it's finding out yourself how to deal with some of them. It's super fun just discovering how to just exploit, kinda, the abilities of the killers to survive, or how to play a killer by yourself without any hints or just using your ability on your own. You will lose the matches for sure, but you will learn, you will evolve, and you will win afterwards. That's the fun part. But yeah, I think we have a good time here. Do you want to say anything else before we go?
I think that's good for a session,
Oh, for sure. Do you have any friends on your list you want to rate? I usually dedicate this to rate the guest friends or something.
Actually, I don't think I have any that are on right now.
Okay.
It is a Sunday, so I get that.
Yeah. Let's see. What do I have on the top?
Well, there's Hiragi and Pumpkin Potion.
Yeah. We can rate Hiragi Yu maybe. Pumpkin.
Yeah.
What is Yu doing?
She's playing Isomnium.
Let's go with her because Pumpkin is doing music and I don't want to interrupt the singing.
Yeah.
Okay, let me search for them. Okay. See if I can find. No, I don't find them. Shit, I'm not following them, which is funny. I thought I was. Oh, hold on. I found someone. It's playing Jet Set Radio, which is funny. I keep forgetting I have that game. I should play it one day.
Which one?
Jet Set Radio.
Oh, just the radio.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
a fun
I got
game.
distracted for a second.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
My brain.
I mean, you're eating at the same time as talking, so you can do two things, but that doesn't mean you will do it good or you will be paying attention to both at the same time. That's hard.
Oh, I'm doing like 3 or 4 things now.
Yeah. All right, we're rating. We're rating a guy named Gigabytes. It's a gamer like me. He just plays games on his streams, and he has a low poly model, which is super cool. And yeah, like I said before, use !TG if you want to see Tavish's socials. And thank you, Tavish, for being here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Should come hang out more, man.
Oh, for sure. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.